Let's go through the roll call. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Charles Mordler,
Here,
Marty Wolpuff,
Present.
present, Bob Bender,
here,
Lee Chung,
Present.
Omar Murray, absent, Adriana Rivera, she said she would be absent, Daniel Rowan, absent, Jessica Sosa,
Here.
and Laura Spalter.
Here.
good.
You have a quorum.
Let me ask, is there anybody who has any comments to make concerning the minutes of the meeting held December 2024? Hearing none, do I have a resolution to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Bender, I thank you. Do I have, Mr. Gelman, do I have a second?
I second it.
Laura? Okay, all those in favor, contrary minded, done. That takes us to a SNAD application. There has been an issue bouncing around here for quite a while concerning a number of trees that are proposed to be removed facing the Henry Hudson Parkway. Mr. Rowan is here.
Sorry,
Oh, Daniel is here.
Welcome.
more of a quorum, well, not already.
It was.
Does anyone wish to be heard on that, Miss? Bronx Community Board, who's got his hand up?
Oh, no, that's me,
Oh.
sorry. That's us.
All right, does anybody want to wish to be heard from the public, the applicant, or the like is on this issue? Hearing none, and I take it the applicant has nobody here who wants to say anything in support of the application, is that correct? Going once. Going twice?
Mr. Chair. Marty,
Yes, I'll get to you in a minute, Marty. I just wanted to get the answer to this on the record. Going, then we do it again. Does the applicant wish to be heard in support of the application? Hearing nothing, going once, going twice, going three times. Let the record show that the applicant, though present, did not wish to be heard in support of his own application.
On the
Now,
subject, on the subject, somehow it appears we've gotten off on the wrong foot with the applicant, which I don't understand. We met a year and a half ago. I thought it was very amicable, the conference, the session that we had. And they've allowed rumors to dictate our understanding rather than having fact. For example, when we first began our concern over this site, we were concerned with the covenant and whether or not a multifamily home was being built, attempted to be built there, and that was not the case. So when clarification came through, there was no issue. I'm a little personally concerned about the nonsense with the trees because we have been in contact with the forestry and the parks department, and it strikes me that what I have read, that I'll read the sentence that I received from Gregory Haber from the Parks Department. I will let you know, though, that 3-inch caliber replacement trees are the standard in New York City by parks. It also must come with a 2-year guarantee period, wherein if the tree dies within the first 2 years planting, it is replaced by the contractor with no additional cost to parks. It just strikes me that in the goodwill that I thought was there, a comment such as we'll probably be required to put in a 3, but we'd be happy to put in a 4 or a 5, and that should not be the issue holding back the application. It strikes me at this point that parks will overrule us on the tree issue since their standard is 3. I'd still love to hear from Dennis or Andy that there is still room for discussion, but I don't think we should, my personal opinion is we should not be holding back this application over the tree issue.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
I believe Dennis is here from IDC.
Ah, you are here.
Oh, of
Go
course.
ahead, Dennis.
I have been here all the time in the past few months, so I couldn't miss the day. So
You're on.
I believe we have explained in the last few meetings that the tree in discussion is a street tree. It's not part of this application. There is nothing we can do, no decision that we can make about that tree. The New York City Park has a protocol how they evaluate similar tree removals and what is the number and the caliber of the trees that will replace that tree and where they're going to be planted. So I have made available this tree protocol from the New York City Parks on December 3rd after our last meeting. So I hope you guys have had a chance to go into it, to look into it. So basically, this is a question and an item that it doesn't belong to this application with DCP. It's in a further stage, and eventually we have no control on what the New York City Parks will decide about that.
Anything else? Bob?
So the question I raised last month, which I'm going to raise again, is whether the Department of Parks and Recreation has made any judgment about the street trees that are going to be removed. I understand what the protocol is. The question is, how does it apply in this specific instance? If the applicant is stating that he has met with the Parks Department and has determined, and the Parks Department has determined that the removal of these trees is permitted, as long as, you know, some compensatory methods are taken, then I would like to hear that. Otherwise, the question remains on the table. Is he allowed to proceed, or will the Parks Department object to the removal of the street trees? And I don't understand why it's taken this long to resolve that simple question.
Dennis, your response.
So I have explained on my email on December 3rd, this is a common practice with the Park Department. And the time to go there, it's not now, it's when all the design and all the plans are approved from DOB. This is the time when you go to the Park Department and start conversation about the tree removal. A similar case is right across the street. So not more than 3 or 4 years ago, a similar sized tree has been removed right across Henry Hudson Parkway, right in front of our property. And if you guys have been part of the conversation and it has been under your purview, let us know how it was handled. But I believe this is a common practice with the New York parks. Whenever there is a development and there is a tree on the driveway that, you know, somehow impedes with the new development, there's a practice how you can remove and replace it. And it's not something that is happening for the first time. Even in Community Board 8 area, is something that has happened before and will happen in the future as well. Hopefully as less as possible, but there are situations when you cannot avoid that.
Placement. Okay, well, let me, is anybody else wish to be heard? Dan?
I mean, even just referring to the document you gave us, on page 2, they say, you know, trees under the jurisdiction of New York City Parks may not be removed without a permit. Tree removal is always a last resort. and the entity proposing tree removal must provide adequate justification. So what is your adequate justification for? You just wanna build 2 driveways and take away a 30-inch and 20-inch tree? Is that a last resort, or is that just because that's the way you designed it? I feel like last resort makes it sound like there's absolutely no way to avoid this, but we've asked you over and over again if there would be some way to avoid it, but the plans have never changed.
Do you have a response to that, Dennis?
First of all, we're developing 7 townhomes in a R6 residential zoning district. So the land itself, the lot, it will be underdeveloped due to a restrictive covenant that is in place over there. So in order for these 7 subdivided lots, which right now every single one is a separate lot, to develop a single dwelling unit, that dwelling unit has the right to have a driveway. Okay, each one of them. So the property actually have 2 driveways. We are developing 7 units. We're entitled to have 7 curb cuts and 7 driveways over there. We have reduced that number to 4. So, and this is the best we can do with the design. So eventually we are reducing the number of entryways, curb cuts and driveways. Unfortunately, one of them is in conflict with the tree, and there is no other way with all the iterations that we have done to have another outcome.
Can I ask a follow-up question to what you just said? Have you made a submission from both the architect and the horticulturist to the effect that there is no other way to design the building without lopping off these trees? And that the trees are not worth saving from the standpoint of the horticulturist or the arborist? Have you made any such submission, Dennis?
We have submitted all the documentation that is required for such application, including our arborist reports.
That doesn't answer my question.
Civil engineer drawings and everything. I have to remind you that this area and this tree is not part of this application, and it's not under the DCP purview. So we are not required to submit anything else beyond the documentation that is required from Department of City Planning. It's under the New York Parks and I don't think we can, submit anything else other than what we have already done.
I'll repeat the question. Have you submitted any statement on behalf of or by your architect that he could not design the building to avoid this event?
Well,
I don't hear an answer.
I'm telling you this, and I'm not required to submit such a statement on any case.
I will take that as a no. You have not made any such submission, and I certainly have not seen any. Let me tell you something, if I may.
That's what I said, that this is not part of this application. So you have in your hand before
It
the.
is our obligation. It is our obligation under the provisions of the zoning resolution, which was saved through the good efforts of Assemblyman and Councilmember Dinowitz, that preserved SNAD for this community and for the Staten Island community. SNAD is a matter of importance. In the coming election, which thank God is this year, the people will have an opportunity to decide whether they want environmentalists or anti-environmentalists. People who believe in preserving green and people who just want to put the green in their pockets among the members of the administration, of course. That is the issue. We are here determined and have been determined to support the environment. That has always been the position of this board and the position of entities that are interested in conservation and environmental concern. That's number one. Number two, the last time I heard the defense, I don't have to answer it because it's not the question that's before me, was a defendant, but I'll leave that aside. My point is, the issue here is environmental preservation and conservation. With that in mind, would you please tell me if you have any reason to explain why this has been, why this is the only way you can build these buildings?
I, be-
That was said
I believe,
earlier on.
I believe I
Yes.
explained that before, that we have made many iterations and due to the covenant and all what I said before, we are entitled to have 7 driveways. We are reducing the number to 4. We have done our work and we believe this is the only the best outcome for this. Regarding the first point, our project is environmental friendly in all extents. And I want to remind you that this tree is not inside the SNUD area, period. The application is for the SNUD area. Whatever you have there is inside the application. We have done all our work. This is outside that area. So this conversation can continue when we go to the New York City parks. We can work with you, but this is not part of the application. And you are withholding the application for something that it's not under DCP purview and it's not under your purview.
Let me make the response again. We are interested in preservation of the environment. You are interested in making money. We are interested in preserving a community that is fit for people and for living. You are interested in making money. That's not a crime. Indeed, it's a very salutary objective. I have 2 questions I must ask you, and I would like an answer. 1, are you seeking in any manner, way, shape, or form governmental assistance, whether it be from HDC or from any other governmental entity, including tax abatement, in connection with the construction of these buildings? Need financial assistance.
No,
Subsidy.
no, we are not, this project is not part of any program that will require any subsidy or, any governmental money. So it's like, private development, 7 townhomes that will be, market rate for sale.
So it's fully privately financed,
That's
correct? Number 2. Are any of the premises characterized as being, or would you characterize them as involving affordable housing?
As I mentioned, these are single-family townhomes. So I don't believe they fall on the affordable housing.
This is going to be a condo or co-op, am I wrong?
It's not a condo cover. Every single unit is a separate.
It's a sale, separate sale.
It's on a separate lot, is a single-family dwelling unit. So I don't think that a single family can be characterized as affordable, let's say, unit in New York City,
So
in any location.
can we agree that the advancement of this project is not one designed to increase affordability of housing for people, am I correct?
I believe you are correct.
Mr. Gelman.
Two comments. Townhomes certainly can be affordable. I've built dozens of them for Habitat for Humanity. And secondly, I'm reasonably certain this is within SNAD, and including the trees at the curb. But I have a question for you on the protocol for trees on page 8. The second question is, how does NYC Parks approach tree replacement? Is Parks' priority to preserve existing trees if an applicant or entity provides acceptable justification and no preservation options exist, then Parks will appraise the tree and issue a tree removal permit identifying replacement trees. So have you gotten that permit, and where would the replacement trees be going?
This is not a question for me to ask. That's, I believe it's New York City Park decision. And if you have read the protocol, it's not one tree. So typically for a tree this size, it would be, I would assume like 20 new trees that will be planted. And it's on New York City Parks to decide where and when and how.
I agree that it's up to Parks to decide, but have you made an application to them that you can remove the tree and where that they would expect you to plant other trees as replacements? Have you done that application? Have you gotten that approval? Have they identified where those trees will go? Those are straightforward questions.
I believe I have a straightforward answer for that before, that we cannot go to step 2 without passing step 1. So once this application is approved for the City Planning Commission, we're gonna file with DOB, and once plans are finalized, we're gonna go to the New York City Parks, and then they're gonna decide where the trees will be planted. Typical on this case, it's not us that plant them. We pay the New York City Park a payment for each tree that they evaluate, and then the New York City Parks decide where to plant those, how and when, and what type and which caliber and so forth.
Dennis, the following 2 questions can be easily answered with a yes or no. Have you had any discussions with the Parks Department or any representative thereof concerning the trees, their removal, the permit, and the location of alternative trees? Yes or no?
Have you, as Community Board 8, have had any discussion with the New York City Park Departments for the tree that is removed 3 years ago in front of our property on the other side of Henry Hudson Parkway? And what is your, what information can you provide about that?
Whether you have had any such discussion, you and your client, you and the development entity, any person associated with it, had any discussion to date with Parks on the subject? Yes or no?
I know that the person that have removed that has had a conversation with the parks when it was time for that, but you are holding me up, and you are holding this application because you believe that we have to do that right now, which is not the time. I explained you thoroughly, and this is not the first time that I'm doing that. So I'm asking you what you have done. What is your protocol for that one that is removed across the street? Do you have any record as Community Board 8 for that?
Yes, we
I
do.
believe that you
We
are
have consistently
from us,
fought
God.
with the city and with Parks and with city planning to preserve, advance, and protect the environment, SNAD, and all of its ramifications. And the answer is yes. On every application that has been made to this board during my tenure as the chair, and during which time SNAD was in effect, these questions were always posed. Under former borough presidents, there was indeed an assistant to the borough president assigned to the responsibility are fighting to enhance tree preservation, not to undermine it. Clearly, that environmental issue will come up in the next few months. If it doesn't by anyone else, here's somebody who will bring it up. My point is, you're wrong, Dennis. You know, if you want to be level with the community, you'll either say yes or no. You don't have to. When I was building commissioner, we put together something called the list of the 100 worst landlords. For the period, past few years, I've contemplated creating the 100 or even the one least cooperative development. I have in mind, of course, the area in and around the reservoir as well as here. And you're leading the pack. So now my question to you again. Have you taken any steps in terms of trying either to preserve these trees by way of design or to replace them in a manner that is meaningful?
I believe I have explained it several times. We have taken all the steps that we can during design phase to try to save whatever can be saved, and it's one tree. And this is the best outcome. We have done our work. We have been working on this for over a year now, a year and a half, to be precise. And there is nothing more we can do. We are under these conditions. We are under developing the property based on the covenant. And every single lot, if we decide to sell those lots tomorrow, will have a right to have a driveway and to remove whatever is on their way. They are 18 feet wide lots, and there is nothing that anyone can do to prevent these people because they have their own right. Now, we have designed it. We have done a great job with the design. We have looked in all the iterations, and instead of having 7, we have reduced it to 4. So basically 2 are existing, and we're gonna add only 2 new driveways that are gonna serve the other 5 units, to look at that way. So this is the best outcome. On the other hand, I want to say that you are insisting, but this tree is not on the SNAT area. It's on the Henry Hudson Parkway right away. Is under the New York City Parks jurisdiction. I don't believe
You're
that.
wrong.
No, I'm not wrong. I'm right.
You really are wrong.
Okay. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. What I can say, I believe I'm right. You know, there is a map on the SNAD area of the SNAD area, and Henry Hudson Parkway is not inside the SNAD area.
It's not the Henry Hudson Parkway, it's a service road, which is a New York City street.
Marty. Marty.
Yeah, I'm gonna start where, I'm gonna return to where I started from. I'm as frustrated as everybody else is, because we're getting bureaucracy by someone who wants to be our neighbor. I can't answer your question because those are the rules, and I can't break the rules. Well, you can break the rules, and we could have finished this 3 months ago if you would have just said they will probably require a 3-inch tree, but I'd be happy to plant a 6-inch tree and get this over with.
Marty, I have said this in previous meetings that the typical replacement is a 3-inch tree. I have said several times, for the New York City Park tree replacement for this tree, we don't have any say. We cannot decide the number, the caliber, the type. Is the New York City Parks. No matter what we say today, when we get in the parks, we have no decision.
That's the point.
So if you guys don't want to, you know, to accept it, this is a problem in between you and the New York City Parks. You can go, you can protest, you can do whatever you like, but we have no authority to decide number, location, type, and caliber of trees that will be planted on the, under the New York City Park jurisdiction. It's done.
Dennis, a few years ago in New York City, there was a movement to defund the police. Bad idea. But there was such a movement. As the chairman of the budget committee will tell you, I have commenced a movement to defund certain departments of the city of New York. And I have discussed it with various members of the city council of those departments that have failed and refused to join in activity to preserve the environment and natural resources. So as to the city departments and parks department, they'll get theirs in a couple of months. Less than they had asked for, but they'll get theirs. But that's number one. Have you applied to do this? You can put up more. You can put up a 6-inch caliper tree elsewhere. Have you offered to do that? No. Am I wrong?
I have explained several times how it works, so this works one way only. And it's the New York City Parks that makes that call on the decision. It's not us, okay? So I have made it clear to you in the last 2 meetings when this issue came up, that once we go to the New York City Parks, we can get you guys involved on the conversation. You can say whatever, you know, your concerns. And when they make the decision, if they say that, hey, it's okay not to plant a 3-inch, but a 5-inch one, okay, we are open to work with you in New York City Parks, but this is eventually, we cannot withhold this application for that. This is not part of the application. So you have to move this one forward. You vote it, you support it, you don't support it, it's your choice. You know, we have done whatever we are supposed to do for this application. We have brought it in your attention over about 7 or 8 months ago, back in, I believe it was February the first time, and then back in May and June, and whenever the Department of City Planning formally sent you the application. So we have done our work.
You certainly have done your work.
This is not part of it.
Let me make, you certainly have done your work.
Continue.
And you've certainly done the best to maximize your profit. The question is whether people who are asked to buy those premises are going to be persuaded by the fact that you would make a profit by doing it, or would they be more persuaded if they knew you were someone interested in the preservation of your community and your city? That will come in due course also. Is there anyone else, Bob?
Yeah, I'd like to make a suggestion before I kill myself. I mean, I feel like we're watching a marathon on a 1/4-mile track, you know, we're on lap 100 and it's still not over. It's perfectly clear, he has no intention of talking to the Parks Department until we approve the application. So he can then go to the Parks Department and say, the community board has approved the application. So we've met all the requirements and blah, blah, blah. And it's perfectly clear that we're not going to agree to that. Let's just
wanna move the
please
question?
move on. Yes, let's move the question. We know where we stand. There's, you know, we're having the same conversation we had in December and we had in November.
And that we're
It's
having
nothing.
elsewhere with this developer
Yes,
in another part of this
that's right.
district,
that's
in a
right.
similarly stonewalling the community approach.
Yeah.
I move the question.
Mhm. So the question is, do we approve the
I
application that has
move
been
that we
submitted?
disapprove the application for failure to cooperate with the community and to be forthcoming in responses to questions asked of the applicant.
I second the motion.
I would want to say not adding adequate justification for why all the trees, it's not the only 2 trees being removed. You're removing larger trees on the site and replacing them with the bare minimum trees that are all definitely part of the SNAD application. as well as obviously the whole development, which will cause that. Also, is any 18-inch wide property actually entitled to make a new curb cut no matter what? Because I'm pretty sure that Department of Transportation has to first approve that, and that they have rules about how far from the other curb cuts you can make brand new curb cuts. You don't just get to make 7 curb cuts because it's private property. I don't think that's how New York City works.
Yeah.
Maybe someone can correct me, but I don't think it's just like you automatically can cut any
Buildings
curb.
and BSA used to do that. Would you check on that?
Or is it DOT?
What do you want me to ask, what specifically, how many?
Is
curb
if you have
cuts
a,
are
if you
there?
make 7 brand new adjoining lots of 18 feet wide, does each one automatically get to make a brand new curb cut? Or is there rules or a process or a permit, like,
Okay,
We have,
Motion on the floor.
is there a second to the resolution?
I second it.
Mhm.
Covered, yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the resolution of disapproval?
okay, and so it's unanimous.
Any in favor, any opposed? The resolution is unanimously carried. This board committee will notify city planning formally of the committee's position. And will advocate it if necessary. There will be a follow-up request by me in terms of commencing appropriate litigation to enjoin the continuation of this project. Okay, that takes care of this item. Marty, have you anything further to report while Dennis is still with us on his other venture?
So much for your time. I'm leaving this call. I appreciate your time on this, and have a good night, everyone.
Don't you want to hear about your other project?
I have been here 5 times for the other projects. I believe I have said whatever I have to say here in these meetings in writing, so I don't think I have more time to discuss tonight for this.
All right, the motion on that one will be by on the grounds of refusal to cooperate with the community board.
It's not a refusal. You have to correct yourself. I've been in these meetings for as many times as I've been requested. I've been here.
You're right,
I've been.
it's not,
I've been here.
it's an absolute demand not to report.
And I have never seen here another developer on community board 8 being on this meeting and spending the same amount of time and offering the same collaboration. And I don't know what else I should do, being honest with you, but
Listen,
this is the time I have today for this meeting. I'm sorry, next time, whenever we have to meet again, I'll make myself available.
I would urge you to think twice about that, but that's your decision. Is there anything, any other matter to come before the board except Marty's report now? Marty?
I'm glad Andy is still on. We have tried, apparently this deadlock over this, I think easily resolvable issue has prevented Dennis from wishing to or participating in any further discussion concerning the Van Cortlandt Village. I have correspondence with him. He doesn't like the nature of our meetings, which are public. And I think it's unfortunate. The neighbors of Van Cortlandt Village have some serious questions, which I'm sure many of which could be resolved by simple discussion. As I noted earlier, we were the mistaken impression that on 3111 Henry Hudson Parkway, it was a multifamily unit. That is not what the case was. There are questions of how the construction process will take place, how the impact on the neighbors will occur. I mean, there are a lot of issues they have raised, aside from the whole question of Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, which seems at this point nobody can answer. But we have sought to serve as an intermediary between the community and the developer so that there is a neighborhood relationship as the construction takes place and people move in. And unfortunately, we have hit a deadlock on that. And I'm very sorry about that, personally and for the residents of the Van Cortlandt, the community. That's my
Let me
report.
let me ask you, and I see Abba Leffa is here, to think about a question. There are adjacent to the Van Cortlandt site other properties in the immediate area that could be acquired. Wouldn't this be a fine area to put up some true affordable housing? People who make 30% of the AMI. As a member of the New York City Housing Development Corporation, which finances those buildings and identifies them, I'm happy to sponsor that application to see if we can put some up there. I think it would be quite good on that site.
I'm happy to talk about that whenever you
All right,
make that available.
okay. Anything else, Marty?
No, that's it. Sadly,
All right. Any new business?
Can I talk about that issue? That's
Sure.
what I came here to talk.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay, good evening. My name is Gary Axelbank. I've lived across the street from the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center. My family have been members since before it was in this location. Since it was on Gouverneur Avenue, the property of Amalgamated Housing, as a matter of fact. We marched with the Torahs around the block and opened up the new center. Mayor Lindsay was there and Jonathan Bingham was there. It was a very, very wonderful thing 60 years ago.
I know, I was there.
You were there. I was this big coming out of Hebrew school, so, but I'm relieved to hear, I'm thrilled to hear you talk about the importance of affordable housing in that area and the opportunity exists. The Van Cortlandt Jewish Center puts out its Center Light, which is its monthly newsletter. Because of my interest and work in media in the Bronx, it's very important to me. That all media be responsible. This is an absolutely irresponsible piece that they put out, and there is one abject lie right in the front of it that I can't get my eyes off because I was involved in it. And this leads directly into, Mr. Morgan, what you had said. They talk about, an article in the Riverdale Press that they objected to. The article also discusses an organization called the Mid-Bronx Desperados Community Housing Corporation, claiming that congregants contacted this group to explore a partnership to retain ownership of the building. To set the record straight, this comes from Stu Harris, the president, and Jack Kleinfeld, the chairman. Neither Stu nor Jack had ever heard of Mid-Bronx Desperados before reading the article. Furthermore, this organization never reached out to the president, the chair, or the board of trustees. Now, I have to tell you, on February 26th at 12 noon, I brought in the executive director and CEO of MBD Housing to tour the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center and the properties around it with Stu Harris and Jack Kleinfeld. This is an abject lie. And either they simply forgot, I guess February to, January is 11 long months and they can't remember it, or they chose not to remember, because the notion of alternatives to cutting a deal with Innovative is not on their list. For some reason, they are maniacally focused on this deal with Innovative, and it makes no sense. If you look up and feel free to look up MBD Housing, I know the people very well, and this is why I brought him in. They are the perfect partner to work with the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center to develop a public-private partnership, let Innovative be the developers, but they can help construct a partnership that will work to develop affordable housing and also get the congregation what it needs. At that meeting, at the end of the tour, the CEO of MBD housing, because Jack Kleinfeld kept saying, I have a contract on my computer right now, I can sign it. Which of course was a lie, because if he had a contract he could sign, they could have signed it already. There was a problem with that contract, and Derek Lovett of MBD said, is there anything in your contract that maybe I can help you with? And they admitted that they would prefer to have a condo arrangement as opposed to the tenant arrangement that they had been working with Innovator for, because the tenant arrangement does not afford any permanence. And they were basically being dishonest with their own congregants, telling them, we're gonna do this, we'll be tenants and everything will be fine, when of course you could lose your lease, where you guys know more about this sort of thing than I do. So they whispered quietly, both Jack and Stu, well, we thought about a condo arrangement. That started a whole dialogue going, and I was there with Peter Stand, who's an architect, and others, community advocates who are working with us, said, you know what? You guys are making a mistake, because you're gonna have this and you're gonna screw your own congregation. And all of a sudden, they came around, and now all of a sudden, they're reworking the contract, presumably to include a condo arrangement. That's the first sense of irresponsibility. When I called Derek a day or two later and said, what'd you think? Do you want to work with them? He said, I don't want to work with them because they're telling me they have a contract. He's a not-for-profit. He's not making any money if he cuts a deal. It's not like a developer competing for a deal. He wants to be a partner. And he said, I don't want to serve them lunch. I don't want to sit here and negotiate with them. So basically, they scared him away, like they did the organization in 2019 that wanted to build a charter school. The woman told me, and I don't want to use bad language, but she said Jack Kleinfeld is a stupid idiot because she couldn't work with him. They don't want to consider any alternatives to what is going on. Now, in this room, I was on the Zoom at that time. Jack Kleinfeld sat right over there, and after some discussion, he came up with this point, and he basically admitted to all of you that he had not done his homework, because he said, gee, you're all talking about affordable housing. Does anybody know what people are really paying for rents out here? Now, you mean to tell me that somebody who's developing a project in the center of a transportation hub of 3 different communities, he hasn't done his homework. He's ready to sell it off to these people who you're having a problem with. He's ready to sell it off for market rate housing, and he doesn't even know what the AMI is, I'm sure. He doesn't know. He even said, gee, what are you complaining about? Park Reservoir has tall buildings. Mutual is a tall building. Next door to us is a 6 or 8 story building. Did he ever find out what the rents are compared to what these guys are charging? And if you're asking about affordable housing, I should have brought the picture. It's easy to find it. I'll be happy to share it. Go to Saxon Avenue in the same neighborhood, and they just built this big white building of 6 stories tall of 130% AMI. Now realize AMI in Community Board 8 for Van Cortlandt Village is slightly skewed because it includes the Riverdale much higher rent.
Oh, it includes Scarsdale.
And well, there you go. So they want studios for $3,000, 1 bedroom for $3,500, 2 bedrooms for $3,900, and 3 bedrooms, I think, for over $4,000 a month. I guess my point here, and I know you can't, none of us can control what happens with the board of the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center. They're entitled to do what they want, but they tell everybody that they have no money because membership is declined. My family I was a member, my father was a member, 3 of us went to, me and my 2 brothers all went to Hebrew school there. I was bar mitzvahed there, I was married there, and they honored me when I was successful in my media business. So they raised money on my name to raise money for the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center. When I applied to become a member, because I heard about this and I said, I'd like to be involved and I can offer something other than a vote because of my experience in the community, they rejected me and said, we don't want external influences. Let's face it, I have a more right to be a member of the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center than a lot of those people on that board, because my family has been supportive and connected to it for more than 60 years. And so my bottom line here is the same thing you folks just voted on. When an application comes across your desk or whatever other jurisdiction you have to reason on this project, I would urge you to not approve any application, to reject what they are suggesting, because these are people who don't have the qualifications to do what they're doing, and even worse, they've closed the doors to people like me, to people like Peter Stand, who's an architect and lives down the block, to people like Laura Chenvin, who lives in Mutual, is a community advocate and a fierce advocate for affordable housing. Rather than listen to us, rather than talk to us, they said, if you want to talk to us, you have to sign an NDA. You know who it is that makes people sign NDAs? Those are the kind of people I don't like to work with. And certainly, I'm never gonna sign an NDA because I have to be the biggest mouth in the Bronx. That's my job. Anyway, so that's my bottom line, is that I urge the subcommittee, the land use committee, and the full board to reject any application that comes out of this process, because these are rank amateurs and this is not a good process. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry if I'm passionate, but it's my neighborhood, it's my life, it's my religion. Let's put it this way. Tikkun Olam means to repair the world. They're doing exactly the opposite to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss, she's still.
Lee, do you have your hand up before?
I just wanted to tell Gary that I work for MBD, so I know they do exist and I know what they do. I was their director of housing long time ago with Genevieve Brooks. Remember Jenny Brooks? Miss
Absolutely.
Brooks.
So fortunately or unfortunately, I've been around too long.
Camille, I hope you can hear this. It would be useful if you could pass on to the Bronx Director of City Planning the following question. Are there any pending or prospective studies by city planning concerning the suitability of that area for affordable housing? I know more than one very prominent builder that would be perhaps interested in building straight up affordable housing, real, affordable for people who live in the area and who live in the Bronx. So let me know if there's something under consideration at CPC or DCP on it. Thank you. I hope you heard.
Yes,
right.
I did. I'll get back to you. I'll flag it tomorrow, then I'll get back to you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, no problem.
Is there any, thank you very much. Is there any other business to come? Oh, Abby, please, go ahead, but short.
I will keep it short. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing me. Three quick items I wanted to cover. The first was I wish Dennis had stayed on the call because I wanted to thank him. If you remember, at a previous meeting and exchange, we brought up the issue that there were no fences around the street trees on Sedgwick, and that resulted in one of the trees becoming damaged. And Innovative was very responsive in that respect, and they erected the fences around the trees. They admitted this is something they should have done originally, but they raised no obstacles to doing it once we brought it to their attention. So I wanted to thank Dennis for that. I see Andy is on the call. If she were involved with that, I want to thank her as well. This is very helpful for preserving these irreplaceable trees.
Abba, is that the 3 trees we've been talking about?
No.
These are one of different ones.
These are on Sedgwick. Yeah, we have some very beautiful pin oaks that are 60 to 80 years old. And it's a construction site and we really want to protect them. And I appreciate that they really took the time to do that. So thank you. And I wish I could say that directly to Dennis because I do appreciate it. And many, many people in the community appreciate it as well. So that was just a quick word of thanks to them. I did want to raise just one general issue as well, that the the area does continue to be quite dirty. Many people in the community have filed 311 complaints with sanitation. These have been substantiated. But you know, it's pretty filthy, you know, in front of the site and in front of 3862 Sedgwick. So we are doing what we can as members of the community, but it's just something that I wish, you know, maybe could look a little bit cleaner. It doesn't look great these days. I wanted to raise one last point, and this is really where I wish we did have, as Mr. Walpoff stated, an open channel for communication between ourselves in the community and Innovative, because we are in the community a little puzzled about what's going on right now. 3870 and 74 Sedgwick, which is the site of the old library and the house next to it, has been totally razed. It's been cleared. It's a big pile of dirt, and it has just stayed a big pile of dirt for a couple of weeks now, I believe. And we folks are just wondering what's happening. Is the original building going to be built as planned? Are they refiling for something else? Rumors are starting to swirl, and I just feel like it's the sort of thing that could be easily addressed if we had a channel of communication. And then I think associated with that is the corner property, 3862 Sedgwick, is really a subject of a lot of deep feeling. It has multiple, at least 60 to 80 foot trees on it. It's effectively an urban forest in the heart of Van Cortlandt. There are hawks, red-tailed hawks that I see perched in it all the time. And we just would like to know what are Innovative's plans for this site. Is there anything that can be done ahead of time to preserve some of these effectively irreplaceable natural features? And if we could talk with them as a community, I feel like we could get ahead of these issues instead of trying to play defense after the fact. So those are the sorts of things I have on my mind, and they do go back to the fact that it would be very helpful if we could have an open channel of communication with Innovative to get some clarity here.
I believe Andy is still on the phone, so he heard you. All right, there being no further business before the board, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, done.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Marty and Ava, if they email over questions like they have,
Yeah.
and that's what Dennis said to do, and send it to them, he said they would answer.
He didn't answer.
So we should, well, he doesn't want to do
That's right,
that.
that's just me talking.
Yeah, he said he would do it if we did it that way, so he can do that.
Is this your hand?
Okay, we can try.
The conversation go.